I'm Pam Johnson, Marketing and Communications Officer for the City of Venice, and today we're going to be talking to Bobby Rigby. He's a third-generation Venetian, and we're here to find out all about what life was like back in the good old days. Bobby, welcome to Venice. Views.
Welcome to Venice.
I don't have to welcome you to Venice, do I?
No.
So your family came here in the 1800s?
1895.
And who was that?
My grandfather came with his new bride in a wagon from West Georgia,
And where did they settle?
Sarasota.
Up in
He opened
Sarasota.
a grocery store. Of course, he was a builder. He built the first jail in Sarasota for $300. And fisherman. On the old maps, it shows a place on 301, swinging by the bay, and it was called Rigby Point.
Huh.
And he kept all his fishing boats there. So, well, back then you had to do everything. He had a farm, and all the family members worked the farm as needed, and so that's how Sarasota got going.
Mm-hmm. And so your dad, I presume, grew up in Sarasota?
He did, and then when he and my mom got married, they moved to Nokomis.
And was your mother from Sarasota as well?
Well, she was from Evansville, Indiana. Matter of fact, there was a place east of Evansville called Oatsville,
Oh,
and that doesn't exist anymore.
all right.
Anyhow, her father settled in Onika, and that's where she was raised. She was went to business school and learned to be a telephone operator when they used to plug the things in, make a call, and she did that.
Oh. And how did you meet your dad then?
Wow. I guess a Saturday night hay dance or something like that. I really don't know.
What were your parents' names? What were your parents' names?
Well, my mother's name was Pauline, and my dad's name was Robert Bruce Rigby Sr. I'm Robert Bruce Rigby Jr., and I have a son that's Robert Bruce Rigby III.
Uh-huh. So your parents moved down to Nokomis, and what did they do there? What year was that?
Well, let's see. I believe they moved there in 1929, and my dad was a fisherman, commercial fisherman, and he would spend part of the year fishing out of Marco, where my oldest sister, Ruby, was born on Marco Island.
Mm-hmm.
And she was born there in 28 or 29.
Mm-hmm. And how many kids were in your family?
In my family, 3. My sister Ruby, my sister Nell, and me.
And so you all grew up in Nokomis, more or less. And what did you do for fun in Nokomis in those days?
Played outside. Played.
What kind of games?
Well, my favorite game was jumping out of a tangerine tree in the yard and hollering Geronimo and using a small parachute my dad made for me. And my mom would get so tired of hearing Geronimo all day long that I would end up going with my dad to the U.S. Army Air Base here in Venice, where he worked as the supervisor of painting.
Huh.
And all the pilots trained here, not all of them, they're all over the state. And so all day long you could hear the machine guns practicing outside the Gulf. And occasionally I'd find a tow target or a tip tank from one of the planes or a unfired 50 caliber round at Bay Point in Nokomis.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, all the way over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they ranged all over the Gulf.
Right.
And then off of the south of Sharkey's restaurant, there was a target base there, a big hill they put up. And out in the Gulf, there were 4 big, tall posts that the planes would line up on to come in on that target. And you'd hear them let go of those 50-caliber machines going all over the place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I guess I have heard rumors that there are still a lot of, maybe some anyway, items from World War II training out there buried under the sand.
Yeah, how'd you know that?
So do you think that's true?
Some, there's quite a bit.
Yeah.
I was there watching them. 3 of us. Well, one fellow's dead now, and the other one's living. But we reminisce about seeing all that, because the stuff that they were bearing was brand new stuff. It packed in cosmoline.
What is that? Cosmoline? Is that what you said?
It's kind of a grease compound to wrap weapons in.
Ah.
And then they wrap it in a kind of a wax paper to keep them getting damaged or something.
I see. You
And
don't
they
think
brought
anybody
it
came
in by
back?
truckloads.
Oh my goodness. You don't think anybody came back and got that stuff?
Nobody ever did that I know of. I went on the trash pile, and back then it was common in World War II to have a gas mask. It had the canister on the end. And so I was so interested in the gas mask that I got 9 of them that day on my handlebars on my bike. So I thought I struck a gold mine.
Do you still have them?
Oh no.
Oh. Well, those would be great artifacts to have in a museum.
Well, the stuff's still there.
Yeah.
It don't disappear.
So what else did you all do for?
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah. Just like that.
One of these days, some people will go out there and
Start digging around.
yeah,
Find it.
yeah. Interesting times back then. When my dad would take me down there, we had an old Packard, 39 Packard, and I was standing in the front seat and going through that South MP gate. I'd throw up a salute for the guy. I was about 4 years old, and he'd salute me back.
And that probably made you feel pretty important and grown up.
Well, it was an impression I lied about World War II
Of course.
because there were people from other countries I hated with a passion.
Right.
I hated Germans. And one day, the army truck came over to the house. They were collecting medals. And I could see my tricycle going up on top of the truck.
Oh, wow.
And I became a German the next day.
What were they taking your tricycle for?
It was a metal drive. They needed
Oh, they
metal.
needed
All the
metal.
hangers
Oh,
in
wow.
were made of wood. All the trusses and everything.
Oh, yeah.
There was no metal for that.
Oh, yeah, because everything went to the war effort.
Absolutely. And they went to every house and everything.
Oh, my goodness.
Pots, pans, didn't make any
Oh,
difference what
my
it was.
goodness. And so did your family have a victory garden?
We always had a garden. Because like when I was a kid hunting, we ate what I brought home. And my dad would only give me 3 shotgun shells a day. And I tried to make each one of them count. It made him so proud that I come home to here's a catch. But I'd shoot squirrels and rabbits and quail and everything like that.
Mom make a little stew or something with those?
Well, just to fry up the rabbit like chicken, it was
Right.
good. It was good. So was squirrel. And my most favorite thing I bought was quail. I really love the quail.
And what about school? Where'd you go to school?
Well, first I started off at Laurel Elementary.
And where was that?
Where was that? Where the Hess station is in North Nokomis right now, just
Okay.
north of the post office. And it was a 4-classroom and a cafeteria school. And fond memories of that. I went up and took pictures when they were tearing it down. That's where behind that school is where the Florida Blue Jays, bluebirds,
Oh, the scrub jays?
scrubbed it. It was loaded with them. Loaded
Really?
with them. I really hated to see them pick the scrubs down.
Oh, yeah. So they're gone.
Oh, yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I wrote a letter to one of the county commissioners about it. Never got a response.
And when was that?
Oh, a couple of years ago when the first time I raised sand was when they did the Hess station. they dug a big retention pond behind the head station. It was all sandy soil, it wasn't needed, and they took a bunch of oak scrub down
Oh,
then.
right.
It was terrible.
And so where did you go to school after that?
Went to Venice Nokomis High School in Nokomis, which is now a county park.
How would you tell people today where it is, where it was? How would you tell people today where that was?
Well, you don't find many people looking for it. But it's 1 block south of Colonial Lane,
Okay,
where the stoplight is in the middle of Nokomis.
okay. And you were there through high school then?
Well, I started the 5th grade there. There was a big building out back called a women's club, and did the 5th grade there. Then the 6th grade was an Army barracks
Huh.
next door to it.
Oh, I see.
And then you moved into the 7th grade was another Army barracks over by the main building. And when you went into 8th grade, you went to the other end of the Army barracks, and 9th grade you were in the school, the main building.
Right. And so, and then you finished high school there. That was where you finished high school then, because that was the
No.
only high school, or no?
No, I finished high school in Venice.
Oh, did you?
We
you
were the first
one of the
full
first-
year.
Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
there was a year that they moved kids over that graduated in '56, and they finished the last half of the year.
I see.
Then we went there in '57 and started there and
That was the
finished there.
first full year of
Yeah.
seniors.
We had a whole bunch of people,
I bet you did.
52.
Well, you know, that's a pretty sizable class for a town of that size in the 50s. I don't think there was 3,000 people here, were there?
After the war ended,
Not too many?
when they moved the Army out, 220
Oh my
in the
goodness.
whole area.
Wow, that's incredible. So that was a really small town.
It was tough back then because the income, the air base was gone. There weren't that many businesses here, period. On Miami Avenue South, there weren't anything until you got down to the apartments where they built the hospital. There was nothing.
Right. Well, a lot of that area was part of the Army base.
No,
I guess
you
all the way
didn't
to
get
the
the
hospital.
Army base till you went on down the Rialto, till you got the last street where the car wash is.
Oh, right, okay.
And
San
that's where
Marco.
the first MP gate was. And the second was down by the, what's that, Lord?
Oh, the Boones? The Boones?
Yeah.
Down there? That was the
building
second
they're
gate.
in. That went in the other half of the base.
So the area of the Army Air Base was then from San Marco south,
Yeah.
pretty much the
Yeah.
whole area.
And everything south of that was Army Air Base. I mean, right out to the Gulf.
So what happened, so what were some of the things that kids liked to do in high school?
The only thing to do was go to the beach. That was the only entertainment. Or go out to Snook Haven. But that was too far of a trip. When I was in Boy Scouts, we met at the KMI building gymnasium. And we would hike from there out to the river and spend a weekend.
Oh, that's a pretty
Then
long
hike
hike.
back.
It's
Yeah,
about
it
10
is.
miles, right?
Oh, I had at least
Yeah.
10 miles.
So the KMI gym is now the Venice Theater, right?
Yes.
So that's where your
But
Boy Scout
Venice
troop,
Theater was at the air base and,
Right.
and one of the workshops out there.
right?
And there's some people that did a lot of work to bring it to where it is today.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so what are some of your other memories from school? What'd you do out on the beach? You had bonfires and just sat
You don't
around
wanna
and...
know.
Okay.
Now, we'd go down to Catherine Beach and have bonfires and party, swim, whatever.
But it sounds like fun, though. I mean, even though it was a simple life and
Oh, yeah.
you didn't have a lot of material
Well,
things, seems like it might be
Kids
kind of fun.
nowadays have different influences. And we did not do drugs at all. There was no such thing back then. I heard that one time that Gene Krupa, one of the big bands, was arrested for marijuana. And I didn't really understand what marijuana was. And,
You were kind of nicely protected here in this small town.
well, there was no market for them.
Well, I've often heard that everybody's mother was everybody's mother because
Oh.
you kids went out in the street and everybody's mom knew what was going on and
Absolutely.
who they were and what was going on.
Absolutely. And if you got in trouble in school, that punishment there was nothing compared to the punishment you get when you got home.
Right.
I mean, nothing.
Those were
I got
days.
one spank in school from Mr. J.B. Roberts, 4th grade. And I felt so bad about hurting his feelings that he felt as bad. But he gave me 3 racks with his ruler. And I cried and cried about having him have to do that.
Yeah, kids have a little different attitude today, probably.
Yeah, well, I don't think they do corporal punishment anymore.
Oh,
do they?
no.
Well, I wish they'd get a hold of my mom. She would whack me with anything she could find.
I think a lot of parents that was the norm back then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's made you behave, too. But we had so much respect for our teachers that you would go out of your way to prevent
Yeah,
causing a stir, trouble, anything like that.
yeah. So as you got out of school, then what happened? What'd you do?
Well, I got a job with an engineering firm. Before that, excuse me, I started working first at Worrell's Funeral Home
Okay.
on Miami Avenue. They had a ambulance service, and we'd have funerals there as well. And in between time, we'd cut up. One time, Gary Bell, you remember Gary?
I don't think so.
Well, he worked at the funeral home. Bill Ballard, Gary Bell, and myself. And then Earl and Irene Rawl, and their little daughter, Early. She's not a little now. But when we didn't have anything to do besides wash the cars and mowing the grass, we would devise pranks and everything. And one day, we had those surgical gloves that were made then out of latex. And we had a big tank of helium delivered to us by mistake. We also had an oxygen server. And Gary and I took that helium and blew up one of those latex gloves. And it was about that big around. The fingers were like that long and that big around. It was a time during the flying saucers,
Oh, right.
and everybody was always looking up and everything. So we blew that up, and it was so big, it was unreal. And we made a fuse. I had some firecrackers, big ones. And we made a fuse out of a cigarette. And we timed how long it would take to burn down. So we set it up, and I went over by the old landing strip, which is at the north end of the high school. I got out of the car, tested the wind, lit the cigarette, and hauled back to Venice. And that balloon, or that glove, blew up about 150 feet in the air and went coming over Venice like this. And it came right over Venice Avenue, and everybody was pointing at it and everything. And all of a sudden, those 2 silver salutes went off and cleared the streets. It scared everybody in town.
Tell me about the silver, what did you call them? Silver sleuths?
Yeah, they were big firecrackers.
Oh, the 2 firecrackers, I see.
I had 2 of them in it. It was funny.
That does sound funny.
That street was deserted. There was nobody.
They were pretty sure the aliens had made it to Venice.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me some other things that y'all did during those times.
Oh. Well, the KMI was here, and they put on those beautiful parades every 2 weeks. And everybody in town would come to see the parade.
Right.
It was a nice asset for Venice to have them here.
That was sort of the big entertainment of the day.
It was part of it, yes.
And people were more, or I don't know more, but they were very patriotic just after the war, and the military was
Yeah.
something that was admired.
Well, Venice had a 4th of July celebration, which included quarter horse races
Wow.
at the airfield that was at the where the high school football field is, the
Oh,
practice
wow.
field. And that afternoon, after the races, horse races were finished, there was a squadron of F-86 jet fighters
Oh, wow.
came over to the flyby, and I was in awe.
Sure.
I'd never seen a jet, heard about it. And they were subsonic, not much faster than a P-51, but it was so neat to see those things.
Right. You had a lot of entertainment at the airfield, right? I think I have. Is this picture? This is your. A bunch of y'all were into cars and car racing.
Yeah,
Is that right?
This is Venice Vagabond Hot Rod Club.
Let me show this to the camera here so that everybody can see it. Venice Vagabonds Hot Rod Club.
We had jackets that we had a little caricature on the back, and it said Venice Vagabond. Anyhow, we organized and came to City Council and got the council to agreed to let us use the taxiway
Oh my
in
goodness.
front of the planes that are starting there. And we started on a shoestring, and all of a sudden a bunch of kids started making money hand over fist.
Really?
And we didn't know what to do with the money except buy timing equipment, stuff like that. So we would take the money and make contributions of equipment or money to the fire department in Venice and the police department. So we did some good, and we also started a help somebody on the highway. We would help people that were broke down, run out of gas, give them gas or whatever, and they'd want to pass, and we'd give them a card. You have been helped by a Venice Vagabond Hot Rodder.
Oh, that's really neat.
We
What a
didn't
great
charge them
idea.
a dime.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
What kind of car did you have during that?
I had that
Yes.
one.
And that
I
one?
traded.
This one right here is what kind of car?
This is 52 Olds,
Right there
98.
on the end.
And I traded that for a 1940 Ford Opera Coupe.
Oh my goodness.
Had a little Mercury engine in it. It was the one that catch the girls.
I can imagine.
I love that 40.
So, now, this is a picture of the Venice High School, Venice
Marching band.
Nokomis High School
Yeah.
marching band. Are you in this picture?
No,
Oh, okay, well, we'll show it. This is Venice Nokomis.
I was in the band, but not in that picture.
Not in that picture. What did you play in the band?
Oh, I played clarinet, saxophone, and drums.
Yeah.
You had to play multiple instruments. And Mr. Sleesman there, before he got married and everything, he was a drummer in one of the big bands.
Was he really?
Oh, yeah.
How did he end up in Venice? How did he get to Venice?
He got a teaching degree, and he and his wife came here. He was hurt in war,
Oh.
and he wore a leg brace, but he would march with us at every parade there
Oh,
was.
that's fantastic.
We were proud of him having that uniform and everything.
Sure. And this is,
The Venice Orchestra and Choral Group Society.
from the high school or from the community?
No, the community.
The community.
Yeah.
And what year do you think that was taken?
It had to be about 55.
So that's really
Looking
amazing.
at some of the grandmothers on the front row.
Yeah.
Well, it's always been true, though. Even today, we have some people who are retired down here who've had fabulous careers as musicians,
Oh, yeah.
other places. So
Yeah.
we've just been so lucky to have people like that. Oh, so the front row, though, you're seeing these are little kids.
Little kids back then, but they're great grandmothers now.
Oh, yeah, that happens. Oh, that's really.
Yeah, the mayor is in there. I don't have my glasses
Which mayor
on.
was that?
Louis Suter.
Oh, uh-huh.
He's right over there somewhere.
Right.
There he is. And then there's Homer Moxell. He was the principal at the Venice High School. And several other people I recognize.
Is there any last thing that you would like to talk about Venice and living here?
Back then, I don't want to make it sound like I'm 100 years old, but back then Venice and Nokomis were considered one community. And I'll never forget one of the coaches one time we were getting ready for football in Nokomis, and they would run to Venice for warm-up a couple of miles down to the school. That was all the warm-up I needed for the whole day. And then after practice, you'd run back with all your equipment
Oh
on.
my goodness. So you played football?
I played 1 year. Yeah. They used me as a tackling dummy.
Well, I have often thought that if Dr. Albee had implemented his plan, Nokomis and Venice would have been one city.
Yeah, yeah. Incidentally, I was thinking about this the other day. There were 4 doctors here after Dr. Albee and Dr. Shelby. There was Sam Kaplan, Talmadge Thompson, Doug Murphy, and Jim Blades. And talking about this home health care and affordable health care and all that, you'd get an exam right on the street. They walk up to you, how you doing, how's this? And I'm not kidding you, this happened. They would check your blood pressure and everything.
Oh, that's great.
It was. But
And did they send you a bill after?
No. I can remember one time Dr. Thompson came to the house in his black 46 Chevrolet. And I was sick with something. They'd always come out with a needle about that long, and I hated the needle. And my mother paid him with 2 chickens. And that's the way you bartered back then. We didn't have any money.
Right.
Raise chickens and stuff like that. Sell eggs. But his fee was 2 chickens. And he did them.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story.
But the 4 of them took care of everybody, and it wasn't a matter of payment, whether you get care or not. You got payment. And before Venice Hospital became a place you could be operated on, of course, everybody was on staff at Sarasota, and you would actually go to Sarasota for operations and everything, even though the 4 of them were located down here.
Right.
They had privileges at Sarasota.
Well, I bet you have 100 more stories that I would love to hear,
Yeah.
but we are out of time.
And it's not an X-rated show.
Well, not yet. So I'd like to thank you all for being here too, and to hope that you join us next time when we bring you more Venice Views.